Hi, this is Yarn Journey from Flickr, and I'm going to show you how to make these little daisies. These daisy chain type of flowers, these little flat flowers with the bigger petals. This one is made with the white round bands that came with the metallic bands. This one's made with the tie-dye red and white. I thought it looked like the firecracker rose gave me the idea for that because that's the coloration of the firecracker rose. And this is just a big daisy made with two regular opaque white bands. And I need to talk a little bit about the centers. You want to choose a center band that comes back, that isn't all stretched out. It's really hard to use the opaque bands and get a nice clean center. You can, I'll talk about that in a bit. But using a jelly band or mango or something that has that, waxy consistency that slides easy in your fingers, that makes a better center. And then I want to talk about this back band because it's kind of important. This one's yellow, this one's red on this one, and this one's white. This is one of the first ones I did, and I just matched the petal color. So the thing about this back band is you want to use something that stays stretched out when it's done, like an opaque band, because it relaxes and it won't pull all the petals down. If you get it too tight, it'll pull your petals down. So the opaque bands really work nicely for this back band. And I used yellow, and it matches the center and gives me a bigger center, that's more uniform. This one, I didn't know to do that back then, and when I made this one, and this is red, and you get these little dots of red color poking through, which is interesting too. Like I made this little pink with fuchsia and pink and a white center, and I'm actually going to use the show through as part of the design, part of the weaving. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing, it's just on certain designs, that's really hard to control. So if you're having a lot and because this is bigger right here, you might get a big stitch there that's hard to get rid of. Then you don't have to worry so much if it matches your center. So, and this one was white, and as you can see, the center isn't quite as regular looking as the one that's done in yellow. So, and I just do simple chains. And I put one extra chain in between the smaller flowers and two in between the bigger flowers. So that's basically that. I thought a simple chain looks best for a daisy chain anyway, but it's a simple band because it's so complicated. The charms are more complicated. And I'm going to try for this video to make this flower power kind of bracelet because I have so many of these color of jellies, and purple. I'm going to do purple today with this, and this one's the turquoise. This particular charm has everything. It has your smaller petals and the bigger petals, and I'm using two jellies for the front. I'm using an opaque that matches. This is the ocean blue. It looked better than the turquoise, so it's ocean blue. And then the gathering band's also a jelly band. And you make, for these 6 petals, I use 5 bands. Okay. So what I do first is you need a band that's not too tight because you do have to cross all of these 6 pegs. And you don't want to get so tight that you break your loom. So make sure the band that you choose is one that's pretty stretchy. And opaque is stretchy enough to do this. It does fine. It's just that it doesn't pop back into a small size, so it gets kind of baggy and uneven looking. But I found a fix for that. And I'll show you that in a minute. So this is how I do the smaller petals. I put my first petal band on these 3, and then probably realize that the second petal band goes on these 3. That's how I get a smaller petal by using 1 band over 3 instead of 1 band over 2. For the bigger petals, and then if you wanted 2 layers of smaller ones, you just keep layering, and you layer. You don't put all of your bands on these pegs first and this, because they'll step down the side of your flower and not, they'll step, and not look flat. They aren't exactly flat, but oh, that's because I'm doing, that's right, never mind. I was thinking and not talking. So I've got my smaller flowers on, my layer of small petals. Now for the bigger petals, I do it this way. So I'm using 1 band just on 2 pegs, and that'll give me a bigger flower. And they cross in the middle. Then I take another jelly band, which is the front band. Let's concentrate here so I don't mess up. Okay. And I'm just going to fishtail the cross bands over. So I'm going to think of the petal bands as 1 band and just treat them as 1 band, not separate them. Okay. Then I'm going to put these about halfway, so I have some space at the bottom and some space at the top. Then I'm going to take my opaque band. I'm just going to stretch it out, because it's going to be stretched out anyway. So, and that way I know that the stretch is probably going to be evenly distributed around. I don't know if that's necessary, but it doesn't hurt, I guess. Then this is a little different. I'm going to go under here, like I did with the loop stitch. So I go in between and lift up on these 2 petals, and I'm going to grab this opaque band. Now it's really stretchy, and these are really strong bands, so they're really hard to pinch together. So I use the side of my hook, and I try to keep my hook, the tip of it, from going under any of the bands. And then I carefully lift them off and pull this one back over. Using the side of the hook makes it a little easier, rather than just using my fingertips to pinch. These tie-dye bands are a bit slippery, so they slide off the hook really easily. And that's what you'll see when you make these flowers, that some of the petals slip out of the center, and you can adjust them easily, and then other ones get caught, and you have to give them time to kind of move around. So different types of bands just behave differently. So you have to find out what the qualities of each band is, and then, work with it so that you get what you want. And it was just a happy accident to find out that the opaque bands that stretch out so make such good back bands. Because I was looking at, I made some and some of my flowers weren't turning out, and then I was looking at the ones that did and realized that they all had opaque bands for your back band. So, and I've also used the jelly bands for the back. They seem to keep stretched out too. So then I'm going to put a jelly band all the way around. That's my calyx or gathering band, and I'm going to then take everything off except for the last band. And I put them off in order because this is the front jelly band, and then this is the back band. The front band. I've really had fun making all these little flowers. I think I've worn this little loom out. Okay, so this is what it looks like on this side, and this is what it looks like on this side. It looks kind of pretty, huh? Then what I do is I put my finger in here so I can, and push on it so I can get these bands, because they're kind of in there. And I pull it up about an inch or so, inch and a half inch, because I only want to pull up enough for the little petals, not the big petals. If you're just doing a big petal, you can pull up a lot more. And then these ones. I just put my finger underneath it and stretch out the band so I can see them. There's always going to be petals where the pegs are. If you don't pull anything that's not lined up with a peg, or you'll have to start over because it'll get all whopper jawed. Okay, and then you want to make sure you put them. Okay, so when I get these pulled out a bit, you can kind of feel when they stop. But see, as you can see here, I've got a really big stitch right here. And I'll try to fix that a little bit later on. But that just happens. That's why I like using the color that matches the band. I mean the back color that, you know, will blend. Okay. I don't try doing too much rearranging or anything because it's so thick and tight in there that it just didn't make any difference. It didn't seem that it was worth the effort. So in these ones, I just fold them up like this. I think you can go around too. Sometimes when I've gone around, I've actually caught some of the petals. So I ended up starting doing it this way, and it seemed that the petals just seemed to stay out of the way a bit better. But I think going around would work too. Okay. So there it is. And then these two are the same band. And these two, the crosswise for the bigger bands. So if you notice one that's maybe a little smaller, then pull from the opposite side. And then these ones, these little ones, you know that there's 3, and this one turned out a little smaller, so I'm going to pull on it a little bit more. And then you can pull them apart, and hopefully they'll settle in. Sometimes they get twisted and stuff. But you can spend some time, you know, pulling on them and getting them. And actually that big one, just doing that, what I did with what was there, and just kind of, because I think it was this one, it kind of made them so that all the little dots are pretty even. But jelly bands give a nice round center. But it is a rectangular loom, so some of the bands, if you get a rectangular center, then that's just not a good band for making these flowers. Then, since this is the bracelet that we're making, I'll try to be quick and just show you a quick way to put these on, to put on the chain. I know y'all can figure it out, but I want to show how to make the clasp. Is this it? Yeah, it's right here. It's actually, I use the charm as the cap band. So maybe other people have done that too, and you put the charm as the cap band and then just loop it through and then loop that other loop over. And it makes it so that you can't even tell where it's been joined. So maybe this will be some hints. For the little flowers on this bracelet, the little ones, I'm going to put them off to the side, so I make sure it goes down, faces down, and it goes here. And then for the big flowers, you need to have 2 chains in between. So there's 1, and there's 2. And then to make a center, a flower that comes out in the center, you have to stick it underneath this band, like this, and pull it through. And the extra chain is on this particular design is always going to be in front of the next one that you're going to do. So for a small flower, I only need 1 extra, and then I'm going to put this one on this side. Okay, so that's how I did it. And you know you've got your spacing right. 1s and 2s, if you're doing big flowers and little flowers together, if they look regular on your thing. It's a little hard to remember. This one, I'm going to do a big flower, so I'm going to put 2 again. And get a big flower, another big flower. I'm going to put it in the middle so it goes underneath here, underneath the band. Okay, so that's 1 repeat, and see it's going to make like an S curve around the wrist, and that's what it does. There, I used 5 big flowers and 5 little flowers, so 6 or 4 would actually give a continuous pattern. This one is going to, you know, when I end up, I'll get two little ones on the same side. I'm going to put just a couple of extra of these, so you can see how the cap band is. I'm going to twist this here, make a cap band, just like that, and put that guy there. So that's how I would end the bracelet. I would end it with the last, wherever the last one was supposed to be, and then make that a cap band when I ran out of flowers. Now, there we go. And then this, like I said before, I did a simple chain because the flowers are so, you know, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see a big band or any fancy band or anything because you spend all that time making the flowers. Well, that's my thinking. You might want a fancier band and put flowers on it. Okay, and then I would just take this off. And I just put those extra at the end. I wouldn't put the extra at the end normally, just to get it long enough that I can go around. Then just make sure my chain is going the same direction, and let's see here. Then you just pop your, through your loop. And then I kind of make sure that my loop is coming out on the top side. If it's not, then I force it to the top, pull out my extra loop, and then you just plop it over. That makes a nice closure for these bigger charm bracelets. Okay. So that's how I started and ended in the pattern I used to make this one. This one I just did on the sides, This one again, I just did one on each side. Where are they? Like that. And then this one, I put them all straight down the centers. So it makes like a daisy chain. And this one is off to the side. And these turned out really big because I used 3 layers or 9 bands. And then I cut them to give it a, I thought it looked like fireworks. This is just playing around. I kind of like it though. It's real bouncy. And this is before I knew to use the charm as the closure. And since these ones are so big, if you get a really big one, you might want to double up your chains here, make it thicker, because even though it's a simple bracelet, they're heavy and you don't want them to pull away. Now here's where I wanted to talk about the opaque centers. The pink opaque does pretty well making a nice center, and then I've got the little dots around here to give it a woven effect for the center. I like that pretty much here. But the yellows and the whites and things, for some reason they really get stretched out. So what I do is I double them up. I put 2 layers of yellow band down and then twist them together as one band. And that gives me a thicker, this is a big thick flower. And then I went ahead and put 3 layers of blue, and then just kind of pull them apart, and they seem to stay and make a really big flower. And as you can see, these stretch out so much that they're slightly bigger than this flower. Just widthwise, you just get a little bit, because these are so you have to pull to stretch them out, and they stay that way. So this is kind of a nice one, and just remember to double up your opaque bands in the center. And then you can decide, how much of these little dots of color you want to see. Okay, so that's how I made all these little charms, these flower charms. I hope this was helpful. Okay, bye everybody. I'll try to get the couple more, like the gumdrop bracelet and little trumpet flowers eventually. Okay, goodbye.